So welcome, people. I'm Lucy Attenborough, one of the psychologists, and I'm going to kick off the top tips for low mood this evening. And Penny is going to take the other half as we go along. Yeah. So if you would move on to the next slide, Penny, that would be fabulous.
If it's not showing as
don't worry, I'll have a go at it.
Is that it's now I've moved it on, so if it hasn't, you can click it on yourself because it's a weird Teams thing.
Is it?
It should work.
I've moved it on. Is everybody else moved on?
No, it stayed on the first one for me. So it might
yes,
be.
It's on the
I know what you can do. It said sync to the presenter.
I know. I don't quite know how this works. Is that on? Is everybody seeing welcome at the moment?
Yes.
I've just okay. Mine's changed. Mine's not gone to welcome now. That's interesting.
Okay.
Why? We don't know. Okay, look, that's fine. As long as everybody else can see it, that's fine. So
I could try something slightly different. Hold on a sec.
As long as everybody else can see welcome, I'm not bothered, honestly.
Okay.
Stick with it. So is everybody else seeing welcome now?
Yes.
Good.
Great stuff. That'll do me. Right. So the webinar is going to last about 45 minutes and there'll be time for questions at the end. If you have any questions during, you can use the chat function that people hopefully know how to use the chat function. You just click up the top, there's a little speech bubble, and then you can write things in the side, and if Terry would let me know if there's anything that pops up. Okie dokes. And we'll try and keep an eye on that as we go along. I'm also going to try using a little bit of Mentimeter. Now, you probably don't know what that is, but it's a sort of interactive thing that will come up. We'll have a go with it. It may work well or it may not. We'll see how it goes. But it's just a way of getting people's ideas or thoughts without being it personally to you. So we'll all probably contribute to that, Penny and I and Terry as well. So this will be accessed through your mobile phone. If you're watching this through your mobile phone, don't worry. You can just put things in the chat instead. All right. Okay. So just to say, ensure your mobile phone doesn't interrupt the session. So if you need to take a call, can you make sure you put yourself on mute and take it away from the session? That's a bit of housekeeping and just keep on mute, I guess, when we're doing the presentation, unless you've got something you wanted to interject in the middle or question. Okay. So, of course, again, politeness and kindness. Please respect one another's and thoughts and ideas and listen to one another. Okay, we've said about the recording. It is being recorded tonight, so you can look at the copy in the future if you wanted to go back to anything that was talked about tonight that you wanted to check on. And also it can be accessed for people who haven't been able to attend tonight. Again, if you want any of your name or your face like a bit made fuzzy or whatever, just let us know and we can do that afterwards. Okay, so the recording is really just to capture the presentation and help people see this who haven't been able to come tonight, or maybe just didn't know, and what they'll find out in the future. Okay. Oh, next slide, please. I feel like I'm talking far too much about that. Okay, are we on to the next slide?
Can everyone see? Next slide, yes. Today's aims.
Excellent. So very simply, today's aim is to help you understand low mood a little bit and learn about some things that can help you manage low mood. Really simple stuff. We're not going to get too complicated. It can be a bit more deep, but we're just going to keep it simple tonight. So first of all, going on to the next slide, we're going to start with understanding mood and low mood in particular. So next slide, please.
Yeah.
So what is normal mood? So this first, I'm straight away wanting to go to Mentimeter. If people can, I'm going to have to switch now. I'm going to have to do this, aren't I? I'm going to have to share this.
Oh yeah.
Can I? This will be interesting.
Yeah, this is gonna. This is gonna. Do I stop sharing then?
That. Shall I have a go at it? Let's see if I can do it.
I think I might have to stop sharing to do that.
Okay.
I don't. Hang on. I don't know how to do that. As you can tell, we are very well rehearsed at this. I'm a bit stuck.
Are you? Can you not just click on the share and unshare?
Oh, hang on. PowerPoint Live, because I went from PowerPoint Live. Sorry about this, guys. While we
I don't know.
Oh, hang on.
Oh.
You're sharing. I can see your stuff.
Okay. So if people can just capture this QR code. I don't know. I should go into present. No, that would probably help. Take the QR code.
Yeah. And then you enter that number 42750809. This is very complicated.
And then we can go on to the questions. Tell me when you're ready, guys.
So I've just
do it too. You doing it? Sorted?
I've got a question. What is a normal mood?
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
So just put in any words that you can think of.
Yeah, so just put anything that you think. What is a normal mood?
That's quite a tricky question.
I think it is a tricky question. Oh, hello. What have I done now? I can see all you and I can't see what I want to see. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to have to just go to Mentimeter.
This is a bit of an experiment. Yeah. I've put one in. Hang on.
Why can't I see this now? Oh, there it is. Okay. And why can't I see my next slide?
I can't.
What? Right, I'm going to... Why is this? Do you know what? Honestly, I just think, why am I?
Is it worth?
Oh, hang on, I've got it. It's because I don't use Mentimeter. Okay, hooray! Hello, thank you. Yeah, exactly. So my next question is, I say, sort of going back to the normal, what's normal? Anything is normal. We have a range of moods and there's nothing wrong with being in low mood. That's normal too. We can get down for all sorts of reasons. Within a day, you can be all over the place. Right. What's a sign of low mood? Being worried, flat, sad. Yeah. Are there any other things that you would think, oh, I'm having a bad day. I'm feeling down here, worried, unhappy. Yeah, brilliant. Can't be bothered. Definitely can't be bothered is like one of those ones that if I hear someone say that, I'm like, yeah, you're not having you're experiencing low motivation. I think I can't be bothered. Cool. Well, thank you very much. Now what I'm going to do is stop sharing this. So why is now then I have to get off of here, don't I? How do I do this?
We're doing well today. I'm sorry about
I'm
this.
doing so well with this. Have I stopped sharing?
Yes.
Yes.
Fabulous.
You have stopped sharing. I'm coming back to where we started. I'm presenting again, and this time we are going to move on and resume here. So
does can everybody see the what is normal mood again?
Yeah.
Fabulous. So yeah, mood is basically involves a range of feelings, as we were sort of saying, and it can consist of what it will it'll be consistent with what's going on around you and what's going on inside of you. So I love emojis. I don't always understand what they mean, but I like to use them. If anybody who knows me, texting and messaging, I always like to use emojis because I think sometimes it just expresses quite quickly how I'm thinking about something. So yeah, let's go on to the next slide, please. Are we on to the next slide?
It should say symptoms of low mood. It's just a little bit slow.
Okay. Just let me know when it's up, guys.
Okay. Can you see that, Lucy?
Mine's is just not move. Mine's isn't moving. So if everybody else would just tell me, can they see it?
Mine isn't.
Hang on a sec. I'm going to do something slightly different. So just bear with me while I stop sharing that, stop presenting, and I'm going to just share my screen because I've got more control, I think. So I'm going to go with that. So you should be able to.
Yeah.
So, oh, hang on. That wasn't working. I can tell we're so polished at this. And then I'm gonna do. I don't know how to do. I'm so good at this, Norma. Oh, there we go. And I'm just right. Can people see this?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
So we've got the
that's better.
emojis. They
That's
finally
brilliant.
turned
Yeah.
up. Yeah. So this is now
Yay.
working.
And next slide, please. Right, symptoms or signs of low mood. So we were talking about the things that we associate with low mood. Next part, please. Thoughts. So we have thoughts about we don't like ourselves or things that we've done. Oh, I'm crap. Why did I do that? I hate myself. Oh, you idiot. Thoughts of harming yourself. Sometimes people do like, oh, I just like, it feels like it can release, calm you down. Sometimes people do feel like just like, oh, I'm such an idiot. Yeah, so negative thoughts about yourself and the future and the world. Sometimes it's like everything's against me. Everybody, things are always going wrong for me. Nobody likes me, that sort of stuff. So next bit, please. So obviously some of the physical symptoms, pretty obvious: tearful, difficulty feeling motivated, poor, sometimes your memory, you can't remember things, your concentration isn't there, feeling really exhausted, restless. You find your appetite changes and your weight changes. So sometimes you eat more. I'm one of those. I'm just going to eat. I'm feeling crap. I'm just going to have a bar of chocolate. Some people just forget to eat because they're feeling so down, so they would lose weight. Other things obviously may disturb your sleep. You may sleep more, or you may just like, I just don't want to think about the world. I'm under the duvet. Or the opposite, you may find you can't sleep very well. You keep waking up. You go to sleep and then you're waking up, or you're finding it difficult dropping off to sleep. Obviously, the other things can be about reduce in your sex drive, not interested, because you're not interested in anything really. So you're not really interested in having sex. You don't feel good about yourself. Why would you want to be having sex? Low libido. Next part, please. So the feelings, like we were talking about, that real low mood, that sad, feeling guilty maybe about stuff, lonely. Yeah, often I think with low mood, we often feel very alone with it. Might be anger as well. We often talk about low mood as repressed anger. Got real angry feelings about something, push it down, and it just makes you feel low. You start turning the anger in on yourself, feeling very vulnerable, powerless. I can't change anything. Everything's against me, hopeless, nothing's going to change. And that just overwhelms us. Yeah, next slide, please. Right. So, I mean, I would try doing Mentimeter with this, but I give up. So I was just wondering how people feel that a heart condition has affected their mood. Now, the reason I've got all these pictures is because what goes on in our lives gets, all these things get affected. So for instance, you might not feel like going out, like we were talking about. So if you've just had a diagnosis of having a heart condition, you might start to think, right, how can I go and run around? What can I do? What's all right to do? And then if you're doing less, you can begin to start feeling low, like I can't do stuff. I'm not able to go out and enjoy myself doing the things that I usually do. So as you can see, this can, and I know that you'll know this is going to start affecting you in all sorts of ways. Then you're going to worry about, what do I eat? So, you know, do I have to be careful about things I eat? Should I have a special diet? What? So you start getting anxious and stressed. Then you've got pain and fatigue, So all these things start to kick in with your mood. So your health is something that you can feel really out of control of. So this is where it starts being, right, what's going on? I'm really feeling helpless about changing any of this. I'm feeling a bit hopeless about that I can do anything about this. So this is where you can tell from what we were talking about the symptoms, you could start getting low mood and start thinking, all right, we're feeling really quite rubbish. Next slide, please. So the areas of your life that would definitely, you'll know yourself, can be affected by your heart condition. If you would click, this is
I click all the way around.
yeah, just click all the way around. So all these areas, you've worried about whether it can do sports or exercise. How much can I exert myself doing my household chores? Can I still do the things I used to like doing, my hobbies? Can I go to work? Can I do my studies? How, is my going to appointments, my health, is it interrupting all that? What can I do? My social life. I don't want to be talking about my health all the time. Are people going to be asking about that? Gardening is another sort of physical exercise type thing. And then with your family, it's like, can I look after my family? Can I, are people asking me all the time? Are they worrying about me? All these sorts of things starts to affect our mood, basically. Next slide, please. Right, yeah.
Oh.
So that's right. So basically, this is a bit of a process of what we think can happen with low mood. Something happens, and then that triggers off. So something happens in your life, you start having negative thoughts, that then triggers to feeling bad. That then can make you feel physically tired, low, or can be bothered, or you're eating more, the change in the behaviors, you start eating more. I don't feel like going out. I feel rubbish about everything. So next slide, please. So an example of this process is, you get a diagnosis. They're telling you, right, you've got this heart condition, or it's getting worse. And you say, oh, what's the point? I've been trying to live a really healthy life. I've been a really active person, maybe. I've been doing all these things to look after myself. And yet, wow, none of that's been changing. And I can't do anything with, what am I going to do? So you're having all these thoughts, what should I do? I can't do anything. Oh, I'm hopeless, helpless here. And so we start getting these sad feelings, feeling like, oh, well, give up. or just feeling like really low. And then that can lead to feeling quite tired, low energy, heavy. And then you start staying at home more, you're less active. You might forget to take your medication. So then again, so it starts to become a bit of a cycle, starts to go, well, what's the point? I'm feeling rubbish, and then I'm low, and so it can go round and round a bit. And then you go in to see the doctors, or come to clinic, And they're like going, oh, well, you're not doing very well, come on, you know, and you're like, oh, what? I can't, there's no point, I'm not getting anywhere with this. Next slide, please. So when people, I work in heart and lung transplant as well as working in adult congenital heart disease, but I know that when people suddenly get a diagnosis or some new news about how your heart problems can changing or developing, initially there can be the shock, and like, no, I'm just going to carry on. It could be quite angry feelings, scared, guilt, or have I done something to make this happen? Is there something I shouldn't have done? Or I did something. Loss, massively, like, what? I had all this life imagined ahead of me that I was going to do all these things, and now I've got this diagnosis. What am I going to do? Or this has changed now. How am I going to, you know, what the heck, you know? So there's a big lot of grief that can come with these sorts of diagnoses and changes in your diagnosis. Then just that despondency, that kind of give up. Well, you know, well, what am I going to do? You know, there's nothing I can do about this. I've got to just live with it. And what does that mean, even? And then regarding sort of this, as I'm talking through it, this doesn't mean you go in this process like from 1 to 10 to, you know, from shock to and denial to despondency. You could get these at all different times. These feelings are going to be things that will hit you at different times. It's not, we're not suggesting that you go, oh, well, first you get shock, then you get anger. It's not like that, because we're all different. We're all different people, and we'll all respond differently. Right. Okay, next. So next we've got Penny's going to talk about how do we overcome some of this stuff. So do you want me to share my...
I can give it a go from my point of view. So I think I'm good. I think
You're
I'm
going
good.
to do that? You're going to be in control?
Yes, I'll be in control. And if I get stuck, I'll ask you to help me.
Fair enough. I don't think you'll need my help, but I might chip in.
Yeah. So chip in by all means. So the next set of things that we're going to talk about is some of the kind of top tips for how we might overcome low mood. And as Lucy said, I mean, in a way, the first tip is understanding some of those processes, as Lucy has spoken about. So sort of understanding why we might feel low and what's actually going on. So the next thing I'd like to talk about is the first top tip that I've got is finding meaningful activity. So what I mean by this is we all have things in our life that are things that either we might enjoy, or that link to things that are important to us, or that link to things that kind of make us feel a sense of accomplishment, or they're just, you know, nice things that we like to do. So the first top tip is to notice those things or think of those things that actually give you that sense of enjoyment, and it will be different for everybody. And it doesn't matter what it is, but things that maybe you either enjoy or that you get that sense of accomplishment. And maybe think about what's important to you in your life. Now, for some people, that might be family. Family might be very important, or being a good friend to other people, or helping other people, or learning new things, or, you know, having adventures, or, you know, looking after animals. There could be many different things that people find, you know, or getting really good at something, whether it's a computer game, whether it's something creative, sport, any of those things. There could be something that's really important to you, and we probably all have a range of things that are really important to us. So once we've identified the things that really are important to us, we can start thinking about what are those things that will help us move a little bit closer to those things. So if family is important, we might choose to spend time with our family. If our friends are important, we might think it's going to be important to go out and spend some time with them, or maybe send them a birthday card, or, you know, or speak to them on the phone, or send them a text message or something like that. So we can identify things that we can do that feel meaningful to us because they're connected to something that's important, or they're something that gives us a sense of purpose or gives us some enjoyment. Even things like chores in the house, they might not be enjoyable, but they might be things that give us that sense of achievement or make us feel like we've accomplished something. So there's a range of things. So what we know is that engaging in activities that feel meaningful to us helps to boost mood. And you may have noticed that. You may have noticed when you're doing something you enjoy that in that moment your mood gets a little bit better. So it can be quite good maybe to make a note of some of the things, so that to remind yourself when you're feeling low, those are the things that help to boost my mood and make me feel better. So that's top tip number one.
I was just going to say as well, if there is something you enjoy, to pace yourself and make sure that you keep your energy for that thing that you enjoy, rather than getting worked up about doing some other activity. That, you know, okay, housework's good and needs done, but if you want to meet up with family or friends that day, then maybe housework needs to take a back seat that day.
I had that conversation with somebody a few weeks ago, and we were talking about how it may sound morbid, this, but we were talking about almost like that deathbed things. On our deathbed, we might be really glad that we spent extra time with our family and we spent time building relationships with people that are important. But really, are we going to be that happy that we spent a lot of time tidying the living room? Is that the most important thing in life? So it's finding that kind of balance and finding that, you know, keeping that energy for the things that really are important to you.
Yes.
So sort of linked to that, I wanted to talk about some traps to watch out for. Now, many times in my clinic, when I see people talk about the things they enjoy, and they like watching videos on their phone, on YouTube and other kind of things. And that can be enjoyable. It can be enjoyable. And we've got pictures here of the mobile phones. We've got notifications. But one of the things to watch out for is that sense of balance. That actually, hang on, going back again. Sometimes we can get caught in, and I do this myself. I'm watching my phone, I get caught into a video that's making me laugh and it's really funny, and then I realize that the phone is playing me another video and another video and another video, and before I know it, 20 minutes have gone past. And actually, has it really made me happier, or is it now starting to stress me out a little bit? So one of the traps that I try and get people to watch out for is, is that something you can get caught into? And just asking the question, is it something that genuinely is making me happy and feels meaningful and important to me? Or am I getting caught in one of these traps? And linked to that trap, I wanted to talk a little bit about social media, because it's one of those things that has kind of really started to loom large in our lives. I'm of a generation where it didn't exist when I was younger, but it now is there, and I get caught up in all of it. And there are just some things that are quite interesting to remember and notice. So one of them is that we can often compare our lives to what we see on YouTube, on Instagram, on Snapchat, on Facebook, on Twitter, compare ourselves with other people. And I had a little search and I found a few pictures just to show how this can be really quite fake. So first of all, have a look at that picture. So at the top, we've got something that might show up on somebody's Instagram feed that makes you think this person is in this wonderful, beautiful location. And at the bottom, it shows how this photo might have been taken, that actually they're beside a rather scrappy looking road in the middle of a weed patch, actually. So a patch of, not weed in the sense, but you know, a patch of kind of scrubland there.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think these kind of things are just really helpful to bear in mind, that what we see is not necessarily what we get. So here's another one. Somebody's at the top saying I'm at the beach, and at the bottom it's like they're actually in a sandpit in their garden. It's important to remember that what you see is not necessarily what you get. So when you're comparing yourself to other people, their lives are not necessarily amazing. And I really like this one. We've all seen pictures like this of people hanging from this rock. You know, this kind of picture shows up on Instagram and everything. This is where it's taken. It's taken, first of all, there's loads of people there. If you take it from a different angle, you'll see that it's actually not very brave. There's actually, it's only a couple of feet off the ground. So what you see is not what you get. So be careful what you're comparing yourself to. So that's top tip number 2.
Definitely. I need to just interject, because a friend of mine was going on about a friend of hers, and on Facebook she goes, oh, she looked like she's having an amazing life, traveling all over the place, having a wonderful time. And then she found out from another friend that that person was actually really depressed and was having a horrible time.
So people only share what they want to share, and they don't share the other bits, the bits that are difficult. So just be careful. So the next tip is something that I often call, and it's linked to the first one in a way and what we're doing, but I call it acting from the outside in. Now, what I mean by that is when we're depressed, we often don't feel like doing things. So remember all those meaningful activities that we were thinking about. We may have them on our list and think, I know that makes me feel better, but I'm just going to wait until I feel like doing it. And that's what I call acting from the inside out. We're waiting to feel like it on the inside before we do something. But actually, when you're depressed, you might be waiting for a long time, because you might never, you know, so actually you don't feel like doing it, but then your mood doesn't increase and you still don't feel like doing it. So sometimes it's good to act according to a plan, which is what I call acting from the outside in. You've made a plan. It doesn't matter what you feel like on the inside. You're going to have a go at doing that thing on your plan. And I think this is really important. Motivation comes from acting and doing things rather than coming before acting or doing things. So people often say, I'm going to wait till I feel like it. And I'm a bit guilty of that sometimes. I've got all these wonderful art materials sitting next to me right now, and I keep thinking at some point I'm going to do something with that. Whereas really I should just crack on and have a go, because when you start doing it, you start feeling like doing it, and motivation follows. And mood can improve. So that's a really important thing. And if you need to, make it the tiniest little thing. So I've got some, I'm not great at art, by the way, but I just like dabbling. But I've got some things next to me, and I might think, you know what, I'm just going to do it for 5 minutes. That's manageable. And then when I start doing it for 5 minutes, I might actually find, oh, you know what, this is quite good. I'm going to do it a bit longer. So that's the way to start into things.
I'm like that with exercise. I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered. And I was go, oh, I'll just do a little bit, or I go on and do Joe Wicks, only 15 minutes. It will be all right. And I don't feel like it. But at the end of it, he's always so positive. I know Joe Wicks might get on your nerves or whatever, but then afterwards, you're just like, oh, I feel much better. I feel like, yes, I can go and do stuff now. So I go off and feel good.
So that's tip number 3.
Yeah.
Tip number 4 is about thoughts and thinking. So remember that Lucy was saying that when we're feeling low in mood, we have all kinds of ways that affects our thoughts. So our thoughts can become gloomy, they can become negative, we can become hard on ourselves. And this is just that reminder that thoughts are not facts. We may think they are, we may get pulled into them and think they're absolutely true, but they're not necessarily true. We can learn ways, and I'm not going to go into lots of detail today, but we can learn to challenge our thoughts and to look at new ways of thinking about it. Now, one of the simple ways, not simple because nothing is ever actually that simple, but one of the ways I often talk about it with some of the people I work with, one of the easiest ways of doing it is when you notice that you're having a particular thought about something, just ask yourself, what would I say to a friend who had this thought? Because we can often think of a different way of thinking about things when we're thinking about somebody else, but we often actually find that much more difficult when it's about ourselves. So we might be having the thought, oh, I'm really terrible at this. But actually, if a friend came to us and said, I'm really terrible at this, we might turn around to them and say, well, you haven't been doing it for very long, so you're just learning. You're getting better each time you have a go at it, whatever the it is. So sometimes we're better at finding a different way of thinking about things when we think about friends or somebody, what we'd say to somebody else. And then just remember, thoughts will pass if we let them. If we focus on them and battle them, they maybe stick around. But actually, sometimes it can be helpful to just notice, label it as a thought. Oh, I'm having a thought. And then just allowing it to go by. They will go by and then you focus on something else. Especially if you focus on the doing. Yeah. Yes,
I was just going to say, I often say your mind, your brain is a thought making machine.
Yeah.
So there's lots of crazy thoughts that come in there all the time, but if you get stuck with them or you start battling with them or trying to change them or stop them, they'll become stronger and more intense. Whereas if you just say, oh, that's just another thought, it will pass. It will, and then you'll be on to the next thing. It might come back again. That's okay. Because that's that thought again. Right, that does my head in, or that makes me sad, or something. Oh yes, Harry.
Yeah, I have the same, because I treat it as training the monkey in my head.
Oh yes, monkey mind. Yes.
Yes, I try and do that.
That's good. So let those monkey thoughts go. They're going to jump all over the place.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, you're totally right. And our brain's really good at thinking lots of thoughts, and as Lucy said, and mine jumps around all over the place. So it doesn't matter who you are or how good your brain is going to think loads of thoughts, and sometimes they are ridiculous and sometimes they are helpful. So actually, I suppose linked to that, a useful question sometimes is this a helpful thought? If it's not a helpful thought, then let it go. Okay, so the next tip is connecting to others. So, connecting to others. So spending time with people that we care about, spending time with people that make us laugh. And if possible, it ideally face-to-face is better. Thinking of what we said about social media and everything else, but actually it's whatever works. And some people may really feel like they like to have lots and lots of friends, and that's great and that's fine. And other people might have one very special friend, and that's all they want, and that's also fine. And some people might have people they don't know terribly well, maybe yet, but and that's okay. But just connecting with people at the level that feels comfortable for you, that is a good way of boosting our mood, especially if we're hanging out with sort of more positive people or people that we enjoy spending time with. Be careful of the kind of, I don't know, energy or mood thieves that are kind of the kind of people that sort of always complaining and always making if somebody's always making you feel worse, then maybe limit the amount of time that you spend with that person.
Definitely.
Okay. And the next tip is food and drink. So we hear a lot of stuff about eating healthfully to manage things like weight and manage our health, but actually it's also good for our brain. So making sure we drink enough fluids, limit the water and and many other kind of drinks, but limit limit things like alcohol and caffeine within limits, because they can be, well, alcohol can certainly be a depressant of mood. People may think of it as something that makes them feel happy, but actually we know it tends to depress the mind and the mood. But just generally eating fruits and vegetables, eating things that you enjoy, eating things that are healthy and balanced, having a bit of stuff that you enjoy, you know, a few treats and a few things that, you know, that's okay. But eating well can help us with our mood as well.
Yeah,
And
eating that rainbow is a good
eating that
idea.
rainbow, I like that picture there. And this one, spending time outside. So me and Lucy were having a little chat about this before we came on air, and there is lots of research that says that spending time outside in nature can be really beneficial for our mood, our mental health, and our physical health. And Lucy was saying that the recent research has showed, in particular, pine forests can be particularly beneficial for boosting mood. But even if you haven't got a pine forest on your doorstep, you know, anywhere with a bit of grass and a bit of greenery. And there's quite a lot of evidence that suggests that green spaces, so places with trees, places with plants, places with grass, boosts mood, but also what they call blue spaces, which are places near water. So a lot of people say being by the seaside, being by a river or a pond or a lake, they all have that ability to boost mood. So spending time outside. And that links quite nicely with tip number 7.
Sorry, just to chip in, sorry, but also researchers actually also found that looking at pictures of outdoors as well is, so if you're really struggling to get out, even looking at pictures of green and blue spaces will give you a boost. It much better to get out in it, but if, you know, alternatively, that is, you know, pictures, looking at pictures as well is good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. And that links really nicely to light.
Yeah.
So a lot of people talk about their mood dipping in the winter when we have less light in this place up in the north of England. And yes, we know that exposure to light, particularly in the morning, can be really beneficial for our mood. And that's another reason to get outside if we can, because you may be surprised to know this. I certainly was when I heard it, but even on the dullest day in Newcastle, in the middle of the winter with the clouds and the dullness, the light outside in that dull day is many, many, many times brighter than the brightest light bulb inside your house. And our brains, through our eyes, respond to that light, and it helps to reset our biological sleep-wake cycle. It helps to kind of boost various neurotransmitters and chemicals in the brain. And so some people find if they can't get outside and they're really struggling with dark nights, dark days and stuff, you can get some sort of daylight simulating bulbs that have that much brighter light, and some people do find that can be really helpful, particularly in the morning, because it helps to reset our clocks, our body clocks. The top tip as well, if you're ever traveling and have jet lag, again, if you get light in the morning outside, that helps to reset your clock again.
Thanks for that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's one of the ways of helping to overcome jet lag. Not that I've ever had practice of that in recent years, but there you go.
No.
So, and then we've got number 8, the word people often hear this, but actually exercise. Getting moving is good for our mood. It's not just good for our bodies, but it's good for our moods. There's lots of reasons why exercise makes us feel better. And remember, exercise doesn't have to mean getting dressed up in lycra. It doesn't have to mean going to the gym, things like that. It can mean taking a walk. It can mean dancing. It can mean, it can mean anything you want it to mean. I spoke with somebody earlier today who I saw at in my clinic who was talking about just liking getting on their bike and cycling, and that was quite, for them, quite a low intensity way of getting some exercise, getting some movement. And I think the reason it can boost mood is it generates feel-good chemicals in our body that makes us feel better, but it can often give us a bit of a sense of accomplishment, a bit of a sense of achievement. And if we're doing it outside, it gets us outside in a green space maybe. So there's and into the light. So there's lots of things that it can do that make
Combined.
that can combine and make our mood feel better. And actually we maybe even can combine it with being around other people that we enjoy the company of, and that's maybe more powerful.
Yeah. And to remind you that even though you've got a congenital heart disease, I'm sure that your cardiologist, if you spoke to them, would say, we still want you to be active. So it's finding those levels and what works for you, and the pacing as well, of course. It's always about pacing yourself, getting that right, you know, building up your levels of exercise. If you're not very, you know, active at the moment, then just start with something low key, you know, like the walk, and then build it up to something, you know, a bit more.
Yeah.
Just for a short period of time, even at first. And I think generally the recommendation I've seen for quite a few of the people I see is a sort of low intensity exercise like walking, maybe swimming is quite good, or other kind of things are quite good for people, and avoid the sort of lifting heavy weights and the kind of real exertion, but other exercises generally pretty much almost always good for you.
I manage weights all right.
Yes.
But I only do it for like 20 minutes to half an hour.
Yes. And if, you know, and keeping them at the right level for you.
And then it combines with other things I like, which is music.
Yes.
That's another thing that helps.
That's a brilliant thing. I should have added that on as number 9. Music can be really feel good if you know, finding the music you like. Next time we'll add that tip as well. Music, a good one. But I suppose it comes into the activities that you enjoy, doesn't it? But yes, and I suppose the other thing I missed out, for some people, not for everyone, there's a picture of a little dog there, but having a pet or something like that gives people a purpose, something to look after. That can be enjoyable. Not for everyone, not everyone likes that, but that goes back to finding the things that are meaningful to you.
But also pet it. If you have got a pet, just petting your pet and cuddling them is so soothing and really good for us. It brings out some of those nice neurotransmitters as well. Again, just very soothing and calming, and good stuff.
Excellent. And then finally, I've got making a plan, and I had all these wonderful things written down and I can't see any of them, but I think the key thing is we've talked about quite a lot of different things, and sometimes it's maybe thinking about which of those.
If you could just take one thing from some of the things that Penny said tonight, and you think, right, which one of those could I make a start with today or tomorrow to make I'm just going to go and do that one thing. It might make the difference to start helping you feel a bit better in yourself.
And all of these things are useful for any of us. So they're things that are helpful for people who are struggling with low mood or depression, but equally all of us, even if we don't have that, will have some times when we feel a bit low in our mood, and doing these kind of things, or if we're going through something tough in our lives, doing these kind of things are going to be helpful to help us manage that.
For myself, can you hear me?
Yes.
For myself, Harry mentioned before the chimp in your head.
Yes.
I remember reading a book, or half reading that Dr. Stephen Peters, the Chimp Paradox, years ago. I only got 2 or 3 chapters in because I fell into the traps that you talked about. A lot of the things that you've just been discussing, like the exercise and the dog walking and going outside, I know it's good for me. I know I should be doing it. But it's these traps.
It is.
Keep like reappearing, and I seem to falling into.
Absolutely.
No matter what plans I make, these traps always seem to appear.
Yes. So, Paul, if there was one thing that you could do to change, just one thing that you would change that it would take today, what would it be?
Well, you've noticed that I've been taking a couple of little photographs of the slides that has been popping up, and it's the thoughts. I think slide number thoughts and thinking.
Yeah.
Thoughts are not facts. Use way to think about things. Thoughts will pass. And for myself, I'm an overthinker.
Yeah.
And then I'll start down a path, and it'll just go to the
try and solve it, try and fix it.
I will try and solve it, but then I'll always catastrophize.
Yes.
It's always the worst case scenario. It'll always run away to the worst possible place that it could possibly go to.
Yes.
That's what I can't stop.
Yeah. Okay.
I struggle. It might take a week or 2 weeks for that to pass.
So what I would say with that, Paul, it's about being here now. So this might sound funny, but going, that's just a thought. If I have that thought, what am I doing now? Where am I? And right, I could go for, I don't know, with it, do you work, Paul, or?
I do, and that's another thing. You talk about kind of social media. Less so social media for me. It's more about the attachment to this thing.
Yes, yeah.
Work follows me everywhere. I'm trying to make plans at work so I can get rid of the mobile phone. I can get rid of the emails. When I'm not during office hours or work hours, I can push that to one side and go, right, I'm not dealing with that.
Yes.
It can be really tough. Can be really tough sometimes to make those boundaries. I think it's so easy. It's those little traps that you can fall into. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of the doing, and so it's about, as I said, the recognizing and labeling that's a thought, and then what can I do? How can I get my mind more into doing something that's going to distract me, but something helpful rather than scrolling through emails, which something that pulls us into something that's just going to feed that cycle of thoughts.
So it's noticing when you get those thoughts, Paul, or you're getting pulled into something, it's going, right, I'm going to go and do something else because this isn't, it's just a thought, can't change it. I'm going to go and do, I don't know if that, does that, I don't know if that would, if you can think.
It's just trying to kind of get to utilize that on a regular basis and recognize that.
And I think that kind of ties quite nicely as well into the first tip, which was about finding meaningful activity and actually identifying what's really important to me, because that then helps you to identify actually scrolling through emails away from work is not actually important to me. And actually what I really want to be doing is connecting with, I don't know, maybe a person that's really important, or, you know, doing a hobby that's really important. And then it's about
walking the dog.
Trying to get ourselves into and the thing is, we're all human, we all struggle with these things, and particularly if you're an overthinker or you get caught up in those loops, it can be a bit tough. One of the things I was going to sort of say towards the end here is maybe also it's about recognizing when you've tried these things, if it's still tricky and difficult, then it's okay to then speak to our GP, you know, reach out for some help, ask for signposting for additional help that could help with that. Me and Lucy work at the work linked to the team at the Freeman and across out, with people who live all over the region, I suppose, and people can be referred to us particularly when it's, you know, quite strongly linked to the physical health side of things. But equally, there are many people out there who, you know, there's services out there that can help people, or there's self-help additional self-help information that can help people with managing these things, because this is just a whistle stop tour in a way. But yeah.
So I went to see a clinical psychologist after my second operation.
Yes.
2014. After my first operation in '94, I had a awareness under anaesthesia.
Oh yeah.
Which was like I didn't appreciate what I went through at the time, but I think it affected my my thoughts on death and morbidity and life. and I really struggled with it for 20 years because I just thought, oh, well, you know, it's just me. Until I went to see Dr. McKay, and she probably got like a PTSD.
Yeah, sounds like it.
It's trying to get shot of that fear of morbidity and like your own, like, contemplating your own life and your own presence.
Yes, of
absolutely.
course.
And
that feeling comes and goes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that is so, you know, it's something that really is quite common, actually.
It is, yeah.
You know, PTSD linked to a range of different experiences with hospital experiences. That's quite common with many of the people that we see.
Yeah.
And anything linked to that.
Well, if it's still troubling you, you could ask to be referred again.
Yeah, Dr. McKay did say at the time, a few years back before COVID, you know, the door was always open.
Absolutely.
And that's why I mentioned it to Dr. Coates.
Yeah, and you can access us as well while we're here.
Yes.
We're hoping that we'll continue to be here, but yes, absolutely. We take referrals from Dr. Coates and the other doctors as well. So yes.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that, Paul. That's really good of you to be so open.
Well, that's the one thing I found, whereas when I initially had the operation, it was very much, I kept it to myself for a long time.
Yeah.
Whereas when I started discussing it with Dr. McKay and others, it became a bit, once I started talking, I could stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Well done. Because so many are having the same kind of experience. And I'm sure that anybody who watches this will relate. There'll be a lot of people that will relate to that. Yeah. Definitely.
I think as you go through it, you just think, oh, it's just me.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
This is just
exactly.
Me.
Yeah, but it's not.
Yeah.
So many. Thank you.
Equally, again, you know, with this being recorded, if there's any of that you didn't want us, you know, that you wanted us to edit out, then let us know. Yes.
I'm at that stage now where I'll tell anybody.
Brilliant.
Good
one.
Thank you. Yeah.
And so our last slide is thank you and any questions, but I think we've got there. Thank you.
We may